Babes chat. And what is that? So if you are a business owner, a spiritually led business owner, or you want to start a business, put some emojis or the number 1 in the chat so I can see where y'all are at. And so you might be an energy practitioner, you might be a coach, you might be a Reiki, light language sound practitioner, maybe you make things like witchy things, you make jewelry, but you're doing something to help the collective. I think that's kind of like the difference between and no shade or anything to people that don't have spiritually led businesses, but usually like the clients that I work with, when they are leading from that space, the undertows of their business is, I want to help people shift. Even if you're making jewelry, like whatever that looks like for you, and you don't have to have like a practitioner business. You can be a spiritually led entrepreneur, even working for somebody else. You can still work in that paradigm and help people, right? Maybe you're an advisor. Like all of your friends and your family members come to you for advice because you're a very wise being, right? That you're doing your thing there. It doesn't always have to be like you owning your own company to have a spiritually led business. And I tell people a lot of times, like, you are your business. I think sometimes we get like so caught up in like the not even brick and mortar, because everything's like online but like you are your business because you're an energetic being and everything is flowing and coming from you, right? So you don't always have to be like working in your thing full time in order to consider yourself a spiritually led entrepreneur. That is like a huge shift for me that I had, because I wanted, in the past to be doing what I do now. Hey, Nicole, doing what I do now, but that wasn't like full time for me back then. I was working all these other jobs, but I had to go ahead and step into and lean into, I am already in that space internally. No matter where I go, I'm always helping people, right? And that's probably everybody in the chat here right now, or if you're watching this in the future. Okay? Like you have this very deep calling of, I want to help myself, being very self-aware and helping raise your own consciousness and frequency, but then I also want to help other people. So just the sheer fact of you saying, I am a spiritually led entrepreneur in here first is what will help shift you there. Like when I decided I want to be a life coach, I'm a little bit different now. I'm a spiritual coach. It was same seas. But before I even had my business, like before I even took a client, like a paying client, I said, I am already a coach. I am already an energy healer. I already help people. All the other stuff will clink in. You make inspired action. We're gonna talk about that. Inspired action. But belief, actually not even belief. I've stopped saying that completely, because belief is like you're not fully there. I know. That's what I said to myself. I know this is what I'm gonna do. I know I'm gonna work for myself. I know I'm gonna make a bunch of money. I know I'm gonna help transform people's lives. I don't need to know the ins and outs and hows. I just know that. And then I got myself there. And so half of this is just you believing in yourself and knowing, not even believing, knowing. Your dream can be your reality. Sometimes people have dreams, other people have realities. These are two very different things, right? You gotta have the mindset of, I will do it no matter what it takes. I do not care about the house. I just know I'm gonna get there. When you shift into that, everything starts clinking in. Because you're opening up your perceptual awareness of like, oh, I don't know, to being like, nope, it's gonna happen. I have news. Thank you for helping me in the masterclass. I'm seeing the shift in my reality. Yay! I love that. Jess was a part of my Money and Magic masterclass, which if y'all want to take that, it's coming up on the 15th. And there's a link in my bio or down here in the description. Super awesome. And I'm glad that you're seeing some shifts. Sometimes it's just like that perceptual awareness. If you look at things in a different lens, it shifts everything for you. Like that's been my biggest milestones, is just a perception like shift. Okay, so what is Boss Babe Chat? Money, money, money. What is Boss Babe Chat? So this is, when I first started in my business, it was very overwhelming. There were so many steps, and not just for a coaching business. This is like just you starting whatever you want to do. It's, you know, you're working through imposter syndrome, self-limiting beliefs, healing your inner child stuff, which is the root of most of that stuff, right? That holds us back or keeps us from stepping fully into our power. Then you're trying to figure out how to do social media, how to get soul-aligned clients, like make media that draws them in, how to show up authentically, what do you make content about, what do you put on your website, how do you build a coaching program, or how do you offer your services to people or sell things. How do you do copywriting? That's a big one. Like, how do I take what's in my head and put it down on paper and then share that with people? What is my story? Like, imposter syndrome is a big thing because people are like, I don't know if I have enough to share. Do people even care, right? There's so much stuff. And sometimes it's very overwhelming when you're trying to do it by yourself and you don't have anybody to ask. Because that was me. And I had, there was nobody doing what I wanted to do except for people that I was looking up to, like mentors online, but I didn't have direct access to them, right? Like, I can't ask Tony Robbins, especially like when you first start out your business and you maybe don't have the resources to do that, right? Because not everybody has the resources to hire a coach, and I totally get that, right? Because that was me in the beginning. Now, I can hire coaches to help me, but in the beginning, right? And so I wanted to do these chats, and so you have that direct access that you can ask. You just be like, well, what about this? What did you do to do this, right? Because I have all of these things that I figured out. It took me like 3 years. I'll just be like very transparent, and I don't want to take you that long. I put like thousands and thousands and thousands worth of hours in time and research and energy and figuring these things out. That's what I do in my free time. This is my hyperfixation, if you will. Knowledge and figuring out how to optimize things so I can share it with other people. Hyperfixation. So it works out in my favor, but it's still kind of overwhelming when you don't have another person to ask. And you just out here listening to all these different people with different perspectives and opinions, and they're all conflicting with one another, and it's just a lot. Okay, let me drink some water here. I'd say that paid off big time for you. It did. It did. I'm gonna say a couple more things and then I'm gonna start answering questions. Hello, I'm the universe. The answer to all things is harmony. I love that. I love that. I would also say love and harmony. Okay. So, what am I right here? See, write yourself notes. That takes a lot of anxiety out of things. Like if y'all are wanting to do lives and you're like, well, I feel like I'm gonna get off track or I'm gonna stumble, like nobody cares. Okay, people just care that you show up and that you're there and that you're offering support and creating space for people. They don't care. Write yourself bullet notes as a pro tip. Okay, because everybody gets nervous. I do this full time and I do lives. I took that break for a little while, but I do lives all the time and I still get nervous and I still trip over my words. It's fine. But you can do things like this that take the anxiety out of it because you just go to it. Okay, people like, that was one of my notes, people like real and they like authenticity. They don't want somebody that's like perfect because that's not a representation of us as like real people. Like when I'm on people's lives and they stumble or it takes them a second to like collect it together, I don't care. I'm just happy to be there. I just want to hear about your story and like what you got going on, right? It's fine. Okay, so we're gonna do these chats moving forward. But then I also just opened the wait list for Boss Babes Inspire. And what is that? So that is a collective of spiritually led entrepreneurs. So it's been a dream of mine to lead boss babes, like high achieving boss babes that want to make these things a reality for themselves, but feel overwhelmed because there's so many steps to it. And maybe you're still working a part-time job, and from my own personal experience, it is a lot to try and figure this stuff out while you're trying to pay your bills and do 9 to 5. And then maybe you got kids or you got a partner or you got other stuff going on. It's a lot. So that's why I want to give all this stuff, and so that it saves you time and energy, right? So within this program, and if you want more information, you can go to my profile and click and get on the wait list, or you can look in the description down here on YouTube. You're going to learn how to make more money, create more wealth, grow your social media, how do you sign soul aligned clients if you want to do a coaching business or an energy, healing business, meet other spiritual business owners. So it'll be a collective of us, but then I'm also going to have guest speakers come in so you can get it in different perspectives. This is where you can get support. How do I do this? Here you go. Here you go. Not just with those things, but also what do you put on your website? How do I make content? How do I get through imposter syndrome? How do I stop people pleasing? How do I create more balance in my life? Right? Like all of those things that are all equally important to one another. So that is open and available if you want to get on the wait list and get more information about it. So what are my credentials? I went to school for psychology. Super fun. I worked in the mental health field for a long time. This is actually the second business that I've owned. I owned a doggy daycare for 7 years. That was awesome. Love them. And I made a pivot because I love working with dogs, but I really wanted to help people. Like, that's my soul calling. I have a lot of dogs, y'all know. I have 3 myself. But I made that pivot shift because it wasn't in alignment with me anymore. And you can have multiple soul purposes. I always like to say that. Like, just because you're doing something right now doesn't mean you have to do it forever or that you're meant to do it forever. That was my purpose then, but then I shifted, and that's fine, right? Okay, so I was a single mom working not 9 to 5, but I was working 12-hour shifts, and I was making about $2,000 a month. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. Not cutting it. Okay, for the reality that I wanted for myself and my son, right? How do I get on the wait list? Oh, if you go to my profile and click, it says Boss Babes Inspire wait list up there, and then you can just register, and then I'll send you some information. Or you can go on the description down here in YouTube. So I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I also cannot stand working for other people. Some people, that's fine, like not dogging that, but I do not like having a boss. Because one, I'm neurospicy, and a lot of us put some emojis in the chat if you're also neurospicy. Like, you on the spectrum, you got ADHD, you can be neurodivergent from trauma. There's a lot of different versions of neurospicy, right? So let me know in the comments, or you don't have to if you don't want to. But I realized the way that I do things is wildly different than mainstream. And I was trying to fit myself in all of these constructual boxes, and it never worked out. I have had 1,000 different jobs. I'm also an Aquarius. Yeah, that's part of it. I have had 1,000 different jobs, and they never last for very long. The doggy daycare one lasted for 7 years, but it's because I was my own boss. Oh, we got a lot of neurospicy people here, okay? But I would get a job for a year and be like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore, because neurospicy people too, my manifesting is not working. If your manifesting is not working, you should join the Money and Magic Masterclass. That's in my profile. It's starting next week. I will help you get those manifestations. I break it all the way down. Okay, anyway, what was I saying? I got off track. So I would work a job for a year and figure out how to do it, and then I'd be like, okay, I'm done with this, I'm bored. And I didn't realize that that's part of being neurospicy, right? Neurodivergent is you have this really deep internal drive to learn how to do something perfectly, and then you're done with it. That's a dopamine thing too. A dopamine regulation. We follow the dopamine, and once it's not doing it for us anymore, then we're done with that. I also was done with masking. I was like, I cannot continue to be in these places and spaces that I have to mask in, because it is soul sucking and it's draining, and it feels like you are dying if you do that 24/7. And I'm not saying everybody has the option and availability to not do that. I get you have to pay your bills and you have to have a job. I get it. And that was me too. Like, you just gotta do what you gotta do, okay? But then there comes this precipice point where you can't do that forever. So you gotta have some other type of plan. My central nervous system, like fight or flight, 24/7, 365. I was so cut off from my magic and imagination and creativity because I was just in fight or flight constantly from masking. And I was just like, I'm done with this. Okay. So I started getting into energy healing and eventually started coaching, but I was doing that part-time around my 12-hour shifts or my 9 to 5s. Like, I was doing part-time for a long time. And I built my TikTok account to 15,000 followers from 0. And that's coming from a person who had horrible social anxiety, imposter syndrome, anxiety and depression. Hey everybody, hey, it's good to see you. I know I've been gone for a while. I'm back. Horrible. I like, if you had talked to me 10 years ago, I would be like, you are out of your mind if you had showed me what my life looked now. And I say that because you can do it too. Because I want you to know I was at like rock bottom and like could not make a video. Hated my voice. Hated the way I looked. Could not be me. Okay? So that's where we started from. Now I'm at 15K. I be making content constantly and on lives and talking to people. I love talking to people now. I used to hate people, like, to be honest, like very transparent, but that's because I was around the wrong people. Doing things I didn't want to do. In a reality I didn't want to be in, right? Whole different reality now. Okay? So let me know in the comments if this is resonating with y'all. If like maybe you're in this space or maybe you're out of this space now, right? So I was making like $2,000 a month as a single mom. That wasn't cutting it. Like, I know that sounds like a lot to other people, but like where I like it's not a lot. And so I went from 2K to I made over $8,000 last month. And that's not to like brag. Like, I've been putting in work, okay, to get myself there. But I am my own boss now. I make my own rules. Now, what this allowed me to do was buy back my time and energy. That is the biggest thing, because working a 9 to 5 or 12-hour shifts and masking all the time and doing things you don't want to do, it's completely exhausting and you don't have the energy to do anything at all. Like, you're just done with life. Okay? Like, you're like trapped in this negativity and chaos spiral. And it makes life feel just so draining. How long did it take you to get to where I'm at right now, where I had that and I have clients rolling in and my social media? It took me 3 years. Doesn't have to take you that long though. That 3 years was like, this is why communities are so important. It doesn't have to take you that long. Okay? I'm a very hyper independent person, and when I first started out my journey, I did not do as well with asking for help, right, or joining communities. And if I look back on it now, that's what I would have changed, because I thought, I have to do everything on my own, all this stuff. So, but it took me about 3 years to figure all this stuff out. I pull the 12-hour shifts at the hospital. Yeah, especially at a hospital, because you're helping so many people and you're probably an empath. And so you're just like pulling in everybody's energy and their thoughts and their feelings and their emotions and all the stuff. And your body's like processing it as yours. And so it can really overwhelm you. Yeah, joining communities is so important, whether it's on Facebook or a TikTok community, or just like having people around you that are further than you, but not so far out. Like, that's one of my points is like, okay, for me, I was looking up to Tony Robbins. Like, he's this really famous like life coach everybody knows, right? That's so far out of the realm of where I was at when I first started that it was very discouraging, because I was like, how the heck am I ever gonna get there? I stopped kind of looking at mentors that were that far away from me and started looking at mentors that were closer to me. I wasn't looking at people that were making $1 million a year. I'm looking at somebody that's making $10,000. Yeah, I have different energy than Tony Robbins, and different thoughts and beliefs and stuff, but I still admire him. Like, he's still a good person. So what was I gonna say? Oh, I stopped looking at people that were like so much further ahead than me and started looking at people that are closer, right? Like, I don't need to be looking at somebody that has 400,000 followers on TikTok. I need to be looking at somebody that has 20,000 followers on TikTok or 30,000 followers on TikTok and what they're doing, because you have to open up your container space and have these mindset shifts and heal your self-limiting beliefs at what level you're at compared to like the person that's next to you. Does that make sense? Because your consciousness raises every time that you leap into this new version of yourself. But if you try and push it so far, like, you just end up discouraging yourself. So that's one of the things that I teach in the Money Masterclass, is that, let's say that you want to be a millionaire, right? We're kind of going sideways here, but it's fine. We're getting, you want to be a millionaire, but you're not making $10,000 a month right now, which is fine. You need to get to a level of where your brain will push you to believe that it's in the realm of possibility, but not so far out that your subconscious is like, nah, girl. That's not gonna be you, okay? So, like, what I teach about the money container is, when I was making $2,000, I know I'm gonna be a millionaire. Like, that's not, I don't believe that, like, I know that, but I have to start with where I'm at. And so I said, well, I believe that I could make $4,000. Like, that was a huge jump to me then. Or I said $5,000. It was $5,000 because I want to swing back. I believe I can make $5,000. When I opened my money container and my beliefs and started working on my money mindset and healing my inner children and processing my emotions, right? And started really hunkering down on that, I made $4,000. I didn't make $5,000, which is fine, because I was still making forward movement and progress, right? Like, we're not going to discourage, because forward movement is forward movement, okay? But I made it. And then I bumped it up to $6,000, and then I made that $6,000. And then I bumped it up to $10,000, and then I had an $8,000 month last month. And now it's a $15,000, because I believe that now. I didn't believe, like, there's no way, absolutely no way, when I was making $2,000 that I would ever believe that I could make $15,000 a month. No way. You have to push your container continuously, but not just like with money. Okay, oh, thank you. Not just with money, anything. Like, anything that you have, like, these big, huge dreams, you need to start where you're at and push yourself a little bit out of your comfort zone, right? So that your brain is like, okay, well, I think I could get there, right? You get there, and then you just keep doing that process. Like, I continuously do that. Not just with money, other things as well, right? Money's just a big one for people. So that's why I always come back to that example. Hello. So it bought me back my time and energy doing this. It also made me an extremely diligent and hardworking person. And I always have been, but when you own your own business, you have, like, nobody's making you get up and do things. Like, nobody's telling me, like, hey, Brittany, you should be working out to calm down your central nervous system. You need to be looking at your self-limiting beliefs. You need to journal. You need to create these social media posts. You need to work on your website. Nobody is telling you to do that. Like, you got to get up, okay? Because you are the determinant factor on your success. And so when I had the doggy daycare, it was a little bit different because there was still some structure to it, right? But this is like, I'm just doing whatever, whenever. Okay, so I've had to, like, become extremely focused and goal-oriented. But I will say this for my sorry about my nose. For my neurospicy people, if you have learned how to stay focused and motivated through the lens of neurotypical people. Oh, thank you. Through neurotypical people, life is not going to work for you. Like, I had to go down some deep learning rabbit holes of how neurodiversity affects you and your mindset. Oh, 11, yay. And how it affects you and your mindset. And when I did that, everything shifted. I was like, oh, that's why life was not working, right? And so you got to, if that's you, one of the biggest changes for me in becoming a very focused and diligent person, even though I do have ADHD and autism, is learning tools for that. And not trying to fit yourself in a constructual box or way of doing things that are for neurotypical people, because it will not work for you. It just simply won't. Okay. But now, like, it's easy for me to do these things. Okay. Another thing is I love helping people. Love helping people. That brings me so much joy, right? When I see other people thrive. Like, I love being a hype queen. I love celebrating people's successes with them. I love helping people get those successes. That is like the best feeling in the entire world. Like, I'm so glad I could be part of your journey. Okay? And I'm not just talking to coaches and energy healers. Like, if you have any type of thing where you're helping people, that's what I'm talking about. Okay? It doesn't have to be like you being a coach or energy healer. Like, that's my perspective, but for you. But what ultimately helps me is me helping myself. And creating content and owning my business and doing all these things, it really helped me grow as a person. Like, I love helping people all the live long day, but I'm the most important person in my life. Even above my son and my family, I'm the most important person. If I'm not functioning well, nothing around me is functioning well. Like, it affects everyone and everything around me. It affects me personally, right? So it helped me grow and evolve as a person. That is what I love the most. Yes, that's exactly how I feel about my intuitive artwork, but you're right, me first. Yep. If you focus on self-love and self-care, and you make that the most important thing in your life, hey V, you make that the most important thing in your life will radically shift. Everyone around you will shift. You cannot change other people, you can only change within. Now, sometimes people go, some people don't stick around. I had to, and this is another tip, I had to clear out most everybody in my life. And I'm not saying you need to do that, this is me, right? I had people around me that were not helping me grow. Or they were in a different space, a wavelength, a different frequency. And it was not, like, the people that are closest to you really shift your reality. Because they have their own traumas and their own projections and their own thoughts on things. And who you keep inside close to you, like, is so fundamentally important. And it's not always them, like, you drew them in for a reason. Like, those people are around you for a reason, right? And family's a little bit different because you like born into family, right? But you need to take a look around and say, are these people on the same growth track as me? Are they goal oriented? Are they speaking positively of self and over their reality? Because we do this thing where we like to tribe up together, right? And sometimes we like to trauma bond. And somebody will start complaining, or somebody will start saying, well, all their self-limiting beliefs. And then y'all match up on frequency wavelengths and they pull you down here. Or you do that to them, right? You might be that person. And now you're just like in this chaotic downward spiral together. So I had to clear out a ton of that stuff from my life. And it sucked. It was very hard to do that because I love those people very dearly. But I also had to become a different person because I was that person too. I used to be so negative and drama. And just speaking horribly about myself and over my reality. So I had to clear all that stuff out. I moved away from everyone. My roommate left a week ago after I got here. I know no one, but it's about me right now. I need this. Yeah, I went on this like very deep isolating hermit mode for like a long time, but it was so that I could learn to love myself and then recalibrate and then come out on the other side, and then my people started coming in. Like sometimes there is that, like, you alone, but is that because you have a fear of loneliness and abandonment? And so the only way that you can heal that is by being alone. I don't mean like alone, like I still have my son and some of my family, right? But I really had to be by myself for a long time in order to heal those things. But on the other side of that is I have my soul tribe. I have my people now. And I have a successful, thriving business. And I do whatever I want. And I make a ton of money. So like in the chunk that you're in that, it's not fun. But then like if you can stay goal oriented and just say, I'm going to figure it out regardless, and I'm going to get myself there to a better life, that better life does come. It will show up for you. Okay, so does anybody have any questions about content creation, like imposter syndrome, maybe like the first steps in starting your business? And so I want to do this business Boss Babes chat so you have somebody to directly ask. It doesn't have to be necessarily like tangible things like website and things like that. It can also be like intrinsic, because a lot of people, you know, want to do these things, but they have self-limiting beliefs that are tripping them up, or saying like, I'm not good enough, or I have a fear of other people's perceptions. What if I fail? You know, there's a lot of things that you got to work on while you are trying to start your business, or maybe you're already in a business, like you already have one. But every time I have ever leveled up, it comes with a whole new assortment. Like, it's a whole nother set of self-limiting beliefs and imposter syndrome. Every single time. They never go away. You just get them in different lenses. Okay. What sort of things cause imposter syndrome? I love that. Okay. So, babies are not born with imposter syndrome. They're not born with any self-limiting beliefs. So I'm going to answer this and then I'll ask, we'll leave space for more questions. So babies are not born with self-limiting beliefs or imposter syndrome. That is put on you by other people. Hey Carrie, by their trauma and their perceptions. So by the time we're 7, from a psychology, biology standpoint, our personality is really like set. And you can have some fluctuations there, but for the most part, that's like when you're being programmed. And so if you have parents and teachers and guardians and all these people around you that doubt self, then you pick those things up. You pick those behavioral patterns and those cycles up. And I'll give an example. So, oh, thank y'all for the follows. I appreciate that. So my grandmother had horrible self-esteem and confidence, and she's the person that raised me, and she would say things like, I'm so dumb and I'm so stupid. Okay. As a little girl, I would hear her say those things, and then I internalized them. And I thought that I thought those things about myself because I was hearing it in my voice. And that might be you too. You might have these self-limiting beliefs that are running and you think those are your beliefs. But if you like look back and you ask yourself, where did that come from? Like, who do I remember that used to say those things or feel that way about themselves? You probably picked it up from them, but you think it's you because that's your voice. And so the other day, so I held a master class, the same one that's coming up, just a different, a couple weeks ago, right? And I messed something up in the PowerPoint presentation. And after I got off, I started having like a panic attack, which that hasn't happened in like a really long time. And then I heard the words inside of my head say, you are so stupid. And I haven't heard that in a very, very long time. And at first, you know, I was like, almost started going into the panic attack, and I said, hold on. And I asked my inner child, who said that to us? Where is that coming from? And she took me back to a memory of my grandmother saying that to herself. And I had forgotten about that. I didn't even make that correlation until a couple days ago. Like, oh, that's why I called myself stupid for so many years. And didn't think that I could, you know, reach this like quote unquote potential, because I would constantly hear her say that. And then I just started running that program in my brain. Right? And when I did that, I was able to help my inner child heal and say like, hey girl, those things aren't true. You just heard that from somebody. Absolutely not true. But imposter syndrome comes from other people. You have just internalized it as your own thing when it's not. But you're looking through those lenses of like, oh no, this is me, this is my reality. Ask yourself, where did that come from? Whose voice? When I was a kid, people called me stupid. Exactly. If you listen to something over and over and over again, you're gonna start to believe it. It's just like with affirmations. The more, or that's how your subconscious works. Whatever you feed it is what you get more of. And so if you're constantly doing this negative self-talk, then that's who you are as a person. But if you counterbalance that with these like affirmations and self-limiting beliefs, work around that and like inner child healing, the more you do it, the easier it is. Like there was a time in my life where I could not be alone with my own thoughts and my emotions. Like could not. Because it was just a mess up in here, right? Like just talking awful to myself. I hated myself. I had to repetitively keep on working on healing those things. And eventually, now I don't have issues with that. Like even when that happened the other day, I was like, no, that's not us. That came from somewhere. But it was not easy in the beginning. It was a very long struggle. And I won't even call it a struggle. Just, it took a lot of hard work. It's a muscle that you have to build. Like you have these negative thoughts that pop up about self or your reality. You're not going to catch them every time. But when you do catch them, you have to work on them. You have to actively work on them. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. And so now I have those things come up and I'm like, okay, well, that's not true. Now let's work on why it's coming up. Okay, but it wasn't like that in the beginning. I had to keep on doing shadow work and working on self-love and self-care. But that imposter syndrome, that is not you. Now, sometimes we have these self-fulfilling prophecies. So the way that your subconscious works is it works with evidence. So if you have imposter syndrome and then something happens that solidifies why you have that imposter syndrome, now your subconscious says, okay, well, we are not capable, because your subconscious proved it to itself, right? So that's where we have to come back in and tell the subconscious, okay, there have been times in my life where I have been successful. Like, pick a time in your life that you've been successful at something. Anything. Even if it's been one time. Always go back to that. Nope, not true because of this. Nope, not true because of this. And you just keep doing that over and over again, and your subconscious will be like, oh, maybe that's not true then, right? But imposter syndrome starts really solidifying as your reality if you keep looking through that lens of like that evidence. Like, I'll give you an example because that's kind of confusing. So let's say that you are like, I'm a bad public speaker. And then you go to a speaking engagement or you talk in front of a class or whatever you do, right? And you get super nervous and anxious and like you stumble over your words. And then you give your subconscious evidence of like, yeah, we suck. Okay, well then you just reaffirmed your imposter syndrome. And that's what you'll just keep getting. Okay, what you have to do to counterbalance that is say, one, nothing is a failure. That's a huge thing. Like, nothing is a failure. It is a growth moment. When I made that perspective shift, it completely changed everything. I do not fail at anything. That is a growth moment. So let's say that you had that experience and your subconscious is like, you are a terrible person. You cannot talk in front of people. Okay, what I would tell my subconscious or my inner children, because that's actually where it's coming from, is I would tell them, hey, I'm super proud of us for getting up there in the first place, and like, we'll do better next time. Okay, and we are not going to hinge our success on that event. When have we been successful in our life? I get into that memory, into that feeling. Like maybe it's like, you got a really good grade in school, okay? So you remember that time we got an A in that class? That proves we're successful. Like, we're not going to hinge this one event on our success. Like, when me, like, running my business, I have had so many times where things, like, flopped and didn't work out. And it would be so incredibly detrimental to me and my soul and my mental health because I let it, like, take me under. But when I switched to, you know what? We are not going to hinge our success on this. And we're going to do something different next time. Because now we know what doesn't work. Okay. Now it's not so over-consuming and overwhelming because you're taking the pressure off yourself. And you're leaving space to start deconstructing the imposter syndrome. Creating the space. Instead of just being like, nope, this is it. You're like, oh, I don't know if that's true or not. Okay, this is why I'm constantly telling myself, I am so proud of me. I'm so proud of you. I love that. I want to say what Jess is saying right here is really, really important, okay? Because if you tell yourself, I'm proud of me, that's great. I love that because you're reaffirming to yourself. What's even more important, though, is saying, I'm proud of you, like to yourself, because you're actually talking to your inner children. And like 90% of our trauma and people-pleasing and imposter syndrome and all that stuff comes from childhood. So you're really trying to reparent them. So they're the ones that need to hear, I'm proud of you. So you can say, I'm proud of me, still do that. But the kids inside are actually the ones that need to hear that. And you're actually trying to heal their subconscious. Because they were told they're dumb and stupid and not capable. So you, as the higher self, are coming in to prove that those things are not true for them. So like when I, heard my grandmother in my head through my voice saying, I'm so stupid, I said, hold on. No, we're not. Where did that come from? And then I had to actively talk and work that out with her. And then once I did that, she was able to release it. Like I had a huge energy release after that and a huge, trauma come up out of my body because she finally understood where that came from and that was not her. It's something that she picked up. So next time you have a self-limiting belief that comes up or imposter syndrome, people pleasing, where did that come from? Who in my life did that? Because it's probably your dad or your mom or your siblings. Well, that's not you. You just picked that up and then you made it a behavioral pattern and a trigger. You're just regurgitating generational trauma. But if you can separate it from a little bit in that higher perspective, that higher self perspective, and talk to your inner children like that, you'll release it. And I'm not saying it will be overnight. You have to keep going back in. There's different layers and roots to things. Sometimes you'll have inner children inside that are dealing with imposter syndrome, but they're doing it through a 5-year-old lens and a 9-year-old lens and a 15-year-old lens because they all have different memories and experiences and interactions with other people, right? Maybe you got imposter syndrome from a parent, but then you got one from a teacher at a different age, and then you got one from your boss at a different age. When I say inner children, I just really mean past versions of you, however old they are. You gotta heal them separately. Because you can't talk to a 5-year-old the same as you at 18 when a boss really made you think less of yourself, right? Different perspectives. So just start with one, okay? Just work on one, and then another layer will come up. Okay, that hit so hard. I've never said that to myself before. Yeah, that's not your voice in there. It just sounds like you. So you think it's you, right? Okay. Oh, excuse me. That was good for imposter syndrome. I need to start talking about that more, because it's like for real. Like when I started my business, like, and just on my spiritual awakening journey, like imposter syndrome is so tough to work through sometimes. Okay. I have time for one more question. If anybody has one to ask about your business. Oh, hey, Tracy. This is my friend Tracy here. Tracy been with me almost since the very beginning of this journey, especially in my business. She's the one that gave me this beautiful selenite wand here with all the beautiful chakras from the beginning here of the video. I'm putting some moon water that I made, some Florida water. If y'all want some cleansing and clearing energy, you can accept that. And then again, if y'all want to be a part of the Boss Babes tribe, where you are connected to other business owners, other spiritually led entrepreneurs, where you can connect and ask questions. How do I get out of my 9 to 5? How do I effectively run a spiritual business? How do I create more wealth? How do I make content? All of those things, and you're in that space in life where you need extra support, right? You can go to my profile and click, and you can get on the wait list there, or it's in the description down here below. And we talk about a lot of other things too. It's not just like business stuff. It's like imposter syndrome, people pleasing, how to show up authentically in your life, in your business, in your content. I made some Pleiadium higher wisdom candles under the full moon. Oh, that sounds lovely. I love that. I love my Pleiadian friends. The most effective way you found to expand your reach. Oh, the most effective way I found to expand my reach. Love that. Okay, so this is how I've grown my social media from 0 to 15,000 community members. I call them community members because they're not followers. This is my people, right? So that's one, is these are not numbers, these are people. Since I make content about helping people, right, which a lot of us want to do, like spiritually led entrepreneurs, even if you're not doing coaching or like energy healing, most of us like come from that space of like, I want to help people shift and transform in whatever you're doing, right? Sound healing, Reiki, light language, or you just are a bubbly, happy, positive person. Like you're just trying to bring, or not just, you're trying to bring more joy and happiness and peace into the collective, into the world. Like that's beautiful, right? That's us. If you're watching this right now, okay, you don't have to have a quote unquote like business to do that. You can just be an awesome person, or not just. I'm trying to take that out of my languaging. You can be an awesome person. I don't like the word just because it detracts from what you're saying. Like just is like, you know what I mean? Like we'll just take that out. So I stopped trying to talk to a general audience. I talk to younger Brittany. When I make content, especially when it's helping other people or helping them learn or grow, I talk to me in the camera. I say, hey Brittany, and I don't say those words, okay? But I say, this is what I wish I would have known earlier. And I stopped trying to go viral all the time and have more followers and all that stuff, because what I'm ultimately trying to do is talk to one person, because that's a client is one person. It's not a number in the machine. It's I am connecting my heart space to your heart space. So I'm going to talk to you instead of trying to talk to a group of people, because then you find soul aligned clients or soul aligned community members. Because as an energy healer or a coach or a community leader, you are trying to find people that are on the same wavelength and the same frequency and on a similar path. Like all of my clients that I work with, we've had extremely similar life experiences. Not the same, but like the same flavor, right? That's what I want, because I am an expert in my life. A lot of us are so worried about, I don't know if I have enough to offer, or, if I know enough. Yeah, you do, because you're an expert in your life. You have gotten yourself out of these really dark holes, in these really dark spaces in life. You're an expert. You're not trying to help. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to be on 1,000% expert. You're literally trying to help somebody that's a couple steps back get to where you're at. And when you do that, it pushes you forward. Like, the people that I work with now are not the people that I worked with at the beginning. Or my community members are different now too. Like, the ones that are like more active and like, you know what I mean? Like, even the people I talk to that come in and out have shifted. Because you shift in doing this. Like, you help somebody that's like right here, right? They need the tools that you just learned. Like, when you asked what has helped my reach, is taking people on my process, taking people on my journey. I'm very transparent about my life. Like, I talk about all the things, the back end things. I don't make this perfect representation of myself. And some people like to separate their personal and their business stuff, which is fine if that works for you, and that's great. I'm not dogging that. I want people to see the whole perspective. I want you to see when I fail. Okay, when I fall on my face. I want you to see how difficult it is for me some days. I want you to see me trip up on my words. I want you to get a realistic view of what it means to run a business, and for you to be going through things yourself too. I want you to see that I'm also going through dark nights of the soul, and that I have self-limiting beliefs, and that I'm right there with you. And I take people on that journey of growing and evolving with me, right? So, not portraying this perfect, it doesn't need to be perfect. People don't want that. Okay, they want to see you, like the authentic you. The time of social media and like the fakeness is dead. That's why TikTok is thriving. Hey, Diana. That's why TikTok is thriving so much, is because it's real, right? That's what we want. I don't want a perfect representation of somebody. I want to know that you get me, that you understand where I'm at. So the more authentic that I am, and the more that I share what I'm going through, you resonate with that because you're in that space. Like, or like, I'm out of that space now, but when you hear me talk in my content, you're like, oh dang, she gets it. Yeah. Like, she gets it. Okay? And obviously she has the tools and resources to help me get to where she's at, because she did it. Like, the proof is in the pudding. You know what I mean? But if I don't share the whole journey and I try and make this perfect lens of myself, it won't resonate with people. And so that's how I've gotten so many community members and gotten so much more reach, because I'm so transparent. And just, this is what you get. Okay? I also don't try and convince people to work with me. That's a big one that I had to learn. Like, that's a real hard lesson I had to learn, is if you don't resonate with me on a soul level, like, if you come to me and you're like, I don't know, then we're not a fit. I don't make content to convince. I say, this is what I have learned. This is my results. This is how I've grown. But I'm also talking to younger Brittany. I'm not trying to make content for other people. I'm making content for, this is what I wish I've known earlier. Whether it's like business stuff or life stuff, relationship stuff about imposter syndrome, people pleasing. I literally just share my story online. I say, this is what I'm going through right now. Like, if you watch my content on my main page, it's just like what I'm going through. And I do it through a lens of like talking to younger me, and it resonates with people, because the clients or my community members, clients or community members, they don't have to be clients, right? It's always what I'm like intending for. Like I love having a community of soul aligned people that are magical beings of light. Like that's great too. And so they hear me talking to them, like, because we're on a similar journey. They say, oh, she gets it. Right? So that's been the biggest thing, is just transparency, authenticity, not being perfect, and stop having a fear of people not caring what I have to say. People want to hear what you have to say. They want to hear your opinion. They want to know how you've gotten from where you've been. There are people that want to know. People do not care if you make mistakes. Now, if you're saying some wild stuff, okay, that's not appropriate. Like, that's different. Okay, but they don't care. I don't care. Most of the thing that we're so worried about in our head, like, we don't care about that in other people. Like, if you're walking around in the grocery store, people are, like, all in their own reality bubble, and you're so worried about, like, am I, you know, making enough eye contact? Am I moving my body? You know, like, am I being weird? Everybody is having those own thoughts. They don't care what you're doing. And also being polarizing. The more authentic you are, the more people are not going to like you, right? Like, there are some people that cannot stand what I do, and they cannot stand me. And that happens when you start getting more authentic. But I don't care. I don't care. Those are not my people. Okay, I had such bad imposter syndrome and I worry about people's perceptions of me. But now that I've grown my community so big, like, the people that show me so much love and support and kindness far, far outweigh like the negativity. Like, it's like a blip, right? When people comment on my comment negatively on my stuff, like, one, they're probably hurting inside. Like, who takes the time to comment something nasty and negative? People that are hurting. That has nothing to do with you. That is a projection of them. Most people, like, that are trying to, like, hate on you, you're doing something that they wish that they could do. Like, one time I was on Reddit. I know this is going, like, so long. One time I was on Reddit, and this person was, like, dragging me, okay? And, oh my God, it hurt my feelings so bad. Like, like it made me question about whether I wanted to, like, continue doing what I was doing. And my higher self chimed in and was like, you should go to their profile. Like, they were dragging me about my videos and saying I was egotistical because my face was always in the cover photos and, like, just, like, all this stuff. And my higher self was like, go to their profile. And I go to the profile, they have 0 videos that they have made. They have never made a video of themselves. Do not take advice from people or let them create this, like, negative cloud over you if they are not living the life that you want to live. That person, like, who are you to tell me what I need to be doing with my videos when you haven't made any? And there's something within you that I'm triggering. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I didn't even get into it with them about it because, like, we're on a different level. Right? Like, yeah, best advice ever. Hey, Oriana, hey. Oh my gosh, I gotta show you something while y'all are all here, and I have it right here. Okay, hold on. Oh no, my tablet. See, nobody cares. It's fine. Okay? Like, make mistakes. Drop your tablet. So, Oriana here, Ride the Light Designs, is, if you can see her beautiful face, she made me this beautiful necklace. This is actually buffalo skin, and she wrote me this lovely letter about this buffalo being rescued from these poachers, and he had this beautiful life, and then she was gifted with this. She makes energy healing pieces. She has made me several, and they have really transformed my life. Like, when I say that, like, she made me this regolite piece, and y'all should go check her out. Okay, she made this regolite necklace, and it has been transformative for my life. Every time I'm, like, going through something, I put that thing on, and it helps see me through. Okay? And now I have this lovely piece as well, but y'all should go check her out. The tablet was trying to unalive itself. I know, isn't it so beautiful? It has this tiger's eye in it too. But y'all should go check her out. Okay. So, I'm gonna start doing more of these. And I have this up on my TV area. It was bringing the vibes. I'm gonna start doing more of these chats, the Boss Babe chats. And so you have somebody that you can directly ask questions to. How do you do this? Whether it's intrinsic things, right, that we're healing on, or extrinsic things like social media, website, content creation, what's a discovery call, how do you build a coaching program, you know, all those different things, because there's a lot of moving parts. So many moving parts. Okay, it gets easier once you start laying the foundational bricks, because then everything kind of starts like flowing together and it's not so difficult, but in the beginning it's a lot. Okay, so we'll start doing more of these. And then I just opened the doors to the wait list for the Boss Babes Inspire. That's my group coaching program that I'm gonna have coming up. It's gonna start in March, and this is where you're gonna connect to other business owners and myself and start growing more wealth, growing your social media. Basically, it's like your one-way contact to how do I do this, right? But not just with business stuff, like how do I get over imposter syndrome? How do I make content? How do I get over people pleasing? You know, all those things. And so if you want to be a part of that, the wait list is open. You can go to my profile and click, or look down here in the description below. And then I might be on tomorrow. We'll see. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for joining this chat. It was super fun. I love talking about these things and helping, or I love being a part of seeing other people's journeys. I love that. Share your wins with me. Let me know, like, where you're at, what, or how you're growing in your business or your life. Like, I love